Shalom. Call Haloyim Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem Rachakudash. Shanya Kubad Kadawala Rakwab Zakwanyam Nawa Wa Shalayakim Nawa. That's the belongers to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom. Wabarakim Labakaroyim Shaliyah Shirala. That's peace and blessings to the elect of Israel. Wanted to make a quick video concerning knowing the laws versus how we are to keep them in today's society. Not sure exactly how I'm going to word it or title it, but it's going to be along those lines, because it's one thing to know the law and another thing to be able to keep it or not keep it properly in these days right now. And this is a more beginner, basic topic, but we were out there on the streets yesterday and you had some young Jakes, probably heard us before, but definitely was their first time stopping, listening, and inquiring, asking questions. And it's definitely one of those topics where it's hard for you to understand, but you have to be able to read the laws and get an understanding of them. And then it's, you have to be able to say, okay, this is how the laws were applied when they were first given to us as a nation. Then we have to speed things up to today and say, all right, well, we're in captivity right now, so I do my best to keep the laws. Now, how can this be applied today? So you have to draw that distinction, and it does come with experience. Through time, you get a better understanding of these things, but you definitely still need to somewhat get it on your own, I'll say. But anyway, it's one of those topics where it's hard to even explain, but I'm going to do my best. As you can see, I'm already kind of jumbled with my words, but Lord's will, this is edifying to the elect. And I'll start here. Judges 5 verse 11, it says, "They that are delivered from the noise of archers in the places of drawing water." Now this represents captivity, drawing water. And that's where we are right now. We're currently in the land of our captivity. It says there, meaning right here. You got to forward this up to right now, how it applies to us today. There shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord. Those righteous acts represent the law, his ordinances, the statutes, the things that we were commanded to abide by, the things that we said as a nation we will do. So the point here is that we're rehearsing these acts, right? We're planning these things out. We're doing our best to practice it. And through repetition, Lord's will, we get better and better, and we're doing what we can, but it's not going to be perfect. There they shall rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord, even the righteous acts toward the inhabitants of his villages in Israel. Then shall the people of the Lord go down to the gates. So the point is that we're rehearsing these acts right now. Now, why is this important? Because in the land of our captivity, that means that we're not a sovereign nation. We can't keep all the laws. Even when we were in Israel, we couldn't keep all the laws, and we didn't. That's why we're in the predicament that we're in today. That's why the Heavenly Father had to send down his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai. So even if we were in our land, we couldn't keep the law perfect. That's the whole purpose of the New Testament, or the New Covenant, to be specific. And the laws being written in our minds, and us operating fully as a perfect people, abiding by the Lord's laws, teaching the other nations in those days. So the best way that I can continue to explain this is by this example right here. I think it's Genesis 24. So the brother yesterday, he kind of asked something along the lines of, well, let's say I have a friend, probably asking for himself, asking for a friend. He said, since sex is marriage, then does that mean that he's married to the woman where he took her virginity? Now, it's two answers to that question. You have a more literal answer according to God's laws and how he views things, which is yes. Yes, technically that is your wife, and you're not to put her away, and you are to take care of her. If things went down properly, of course, you'd pay the father some shekels, 50 shekels, I believe, of silver. You have the proper ceremony. You take her to the marriage chamber or the nuptial chamber. You do your thing. You present the token of virginity. But who's doing all that? That's not happening today. That is proper, though. Once the man and the woman have sex, and now they've been, the marriage has been, consummated, if that's the proper word that I'm thinking of. Now they become one. They're one flesh, right? But in today's society, that's not going to be the case. It's not going to happen. Not only will the woman potentially, I'll word it like this, she has the option to just get up and leave you at any point in time. As a man, hey, you may not be able to take care of her fully, and it's not even going to go down like that anyway. But let me read this. This is Genesis 24, verse 67, the last verse. Now, this is concerning Isaac and Rebekah, the first time they met, literally the first time they met. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent. And I'm just getting right to the point without going over the entire story. And Isaac brought her into his mother's Sarah's tent and took Rebekah. Took her meaning he had sex with her. And she became his wife. Right there. And he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. So, yes, sex equals marriage. There was no ceremony here. They were now joined together. Ever since this day, he took care of Rebekah, and Rebekah performed her wifely duties, I'll just say. There was no ceremony. Now, the ceremony is proper, but in general, this is now your woman. This is now your wife. Same exact thing happened. The same exact thing, don't know if it was in a tent though, with Mary and Joseph. Joseph took Mary, and that became his wife. They didn't go through the proper course of action with having the marriage ceremony, but that was his wife ever since he had sex with her, ever since he took her. Now, speeding things up to today, once again, it's two answers. Yes, according to the law and in the eyes of the Lord, that's your wife, that's your woman. Does that mean, the second answer, that you have to take care of her and do all these things right now? No, because it's not possible. It's just not possible. You were set up differently back then. Your father made sure that you had a job. 12, 13, 14, you learned the skill of your father. You were a man at that time. It's different now. The whole society's ran differently. You don't really learn how to be a man until after 18. You got to get to 18 first. Then you start learning how to be a man. You're not learning a skill, the skill that your father had. You go to college and you learn some BS. Now, this is just one example. This is just one example. But you have to have that understanding concerning all of these laws, especially the more relevant ones. Another example, the Sabbath day. Now, let me just see if I can go to it. I'm just going to type in Sabbath and Old Testament. Okay, I mean, any of these scriptures will do. Exodus 20:8, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 20 verse 10 says, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. Come on. So, are you breaking the law if you work on the Sabbath? Yes. Do you have to work on the Sabbath? Yeah. You can't just tell your boss every single week that I just can't work. It's the Sabbath. I'm sorry, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. And then not only that, but it changes up each month, every 4 weeks, roughly. because we're going by a different calendar. The world is not ran by a lunar calendar. Then it changes all the time. So yeah, understand the law according to how it was given to us and exactly how, thousands of years ago we kept it as a nation versus what we have to do today because of the situation that we're in. The scriptures talk about all things being lawful, but they're not expedient. That's in the New Testament, 1 Corinthians 6 and 12. All things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any. Everything is lawful, but it's not expedient. Expedient going into, it's not, what's the proper word? Not acceptable. It's not resourceful. It's not useful. It's not beneficial. There we go. Sometimes you just got to keep talking and it'll come. It's not resourceful. It's not useful. It's not beneficial. Boom. So you do your best. I mean, hey, sometimes you end up having to cook on the Sabbath. Do your best not to, but I mean, you make a sandwich. That's cooking. That's preparing a meal. Sometimes you have to do it. You work late, you come back, you don't have much. You got to whip up something real quick late in the evening, get to bed, do the same thing all over again. We're living in the land of our captivity. Things aren't going to be perfect. But that's why you keep the law to the best of your ability. We rehearse these righteous acts, and might I add, with faith. And that's very, very important. Romans, the 3rd chapter, the last few verses. Here we go. Verses 30, verse 31. It says, seeing it is one God, which shall justify the circumcision by faith and uncircumcision through faith. Circumcision represents those that were keeping the laws. Uncircumcision represents those that were not keeping the laws. The uncircumcised more than likely were Israelite foreigners that were being called Gentiles. These were Israelites that were born in foreign lands. At this time, they were known as the uncircumcision or Gentiles. Both justified through faith is what we just read. Now, verse 31 says, do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid, yea, we establish it. Why? Because the laws have not been done away with, contrary to what the Christian church teaches. The laws are not done away with. The laws, damn sure, were not the problem. It was us as a nation. We broke the laws that we said we would do. That's why we're in the situation, the predicament that we're in right now. But does that mean that we don't keep the laws? No. It says we establish the law, but we do it with faith. We're not keeping the Sabbath. I'll word it like this. When we conduct a Sabbath service, it's not super perfect. We don't get everything right. Sometimes we mess up on the Hebrew, and who knows if it's even the proper, guaranteed it's not, the proper exact way that they kept service, something in my mouth. It's just not perfect. Things aren't perfect, but the Lord sees it, and he's well pleased with our actions because he sees that we're trying. We're getting the understanding of it, and you flow with it. You go in the spirit. You do what you can. You pray to the Lord that he keeps a sincere mind inside of you, and then you move with faith. That's it. Remember, the scriptures say to strive for the truth unto death, and the Lord will fight for you. That goes with everything. Even when it comes to keeping the laws, you strive to do it to the best of your capabilities. And certain things you know, and certain things you're working on. You in this thing for a few years, you know not to do certain things. You shouldn't have to be told. I mean, even just on a smaller scale, when you first come in, come on, you know, even in the world, adultery is wrong. We don't even have to tell you that when you get in this truth. Come on, you know that, one of the 10 commandments. Christians know that. Stealing, all these things. Those are things you can keep easily, right? You just know in your mind not to do that. Having a zeal for the Lord. That's it. Just wanted to bring out those few precepts and those 1 or 2 examples just because of what the brother yesterday had asked us. That was on my mind. And so hopefully this was edifying to the elect. I know I was kind of all over the place, but it's one of those topics where you have to do your best to explain it, and Lord's will, the Most High just gives you the increase. So pray that it was edifying once again to the elect. Call Elohim Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rachakudash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the elect. Shalom.